A group of House Republicans is asking Congress to include the rollback of California environmental standards as a condition of the state receiving federal wildfire aid. In a letter to the House and Senate Appropriations Committees last week, the GOP lawmakers, led by Colorado Representative Jeff Crank, called for federal distributors to, quote, include provisions repealing the California Air Review Board's Clean Air Act waivers granted under the Biden administration. The Palisades and Eaton fires are both 100% contained after burning for nearly a month in Los Angeles County. At least 29 people have died, more than 12,000 structures destroyed. Officials say it will cost more than $250 billion to rebuild the area. Andy Picon joins us now. He's a reporter at Politico's E&E News. I mean, Andy, this is really extraordinary, and you have to imagine if in another administration the shoe was on the other foot and if this was being asked, for example, so-called red states. But walk us through what the Clean Air Act requires in California and why the GOP wants it repealed.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay. California has one of the most stringent air quality standards of any state in the country, and that's due to state policies, but also through a series of regulations and regulatory approvals from the Environmental Protection Agency. Now, that's a problem because what it means in practice is that California, in order to continue to sell vehicles in California, automakers have to make their vehicles cleaner and cleaner over time, reducing the emissions over time. And for a lot of Republican lawmakers, they see that as a misuse of taxpayer funds. They see it as picking winners and losers in a lot of cases, and they say, it's okay to promote clean vehicles, electric vehicles, but they want really market and supply and demand to determine what vehicles consumers can buy and which they don't.
Has federal funding ever been conditional on the changing of state laws before?
There's precedent before for, putting requirements on certain, disaster funding. For example, there's eligibility requirements for individuals when they receive disaster assistance or rules around what local and state governments can do with disaster grants, for example, what they can use that money for and what they can't use it for. But there isn't really precedent for conditioning disaster aid in terms of a quid pro quo kind of situation. That's causing a lot of frustration right now in Congress because there's a lot of Democrats who say, as you pointed out, Lindsay, that if the shoe were on the other foot here, at some point, it's a slippery slope. Putting requirements on disaster aid, you never know when a state is going to need it. And in this case, some Republicans are making demands for policy changes, state policy changes, and that's not something that we've seen before.
The letter claims California is, quote, prioritizing climate policies over responsible wildfire management. What are they arguing?
You're right. In that letter that this group of 4 House Republicans sent out last week, they point to a slew of environmental regulations, climate policies that California has instituted over the years, and millions and millions, some cases billions of dollars that the state has set aside for policies and initiatives to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. California is known for doing that, but these lawmakers obviously see that as a misuse of funding, especially given the relatively lower amount that the state has put toward wildfire prevention. And with these recent wildfires, obviously, that's become more of a cause for concern. So what they're asking here is for California to spend less money on climate initiatives, environmental initiatives, and implementation of these Clean Air Act waivers, and to instead put that money toward wildfire prevention, whether that's clearing brush near transmission lines, for example, other environmental actions, forestry actions that they could take to prevent future wildfires.
Andy Picon, thanks for covering this for us.
Thank you.